Bailey's Story, A Puppy Tale, Chapter 4. Sometimes Dad and Ethan would sit together at a table in the evenings, talking quietly while the smell of something strange and sharp and eye-watering filled the air. Dad would let me lie on his feet. That was nice, since Ethan's feet didn't reach the floor. Look, Bailey, we built an airplane, the boy said after one of these sessions, thrusting a toy near my nose. I had to blink and back up a bit from the smell so I didn't try to take it or chew it, making noises that sounded like the car when it went fast. Vroom, vroom. The boy raced around the house holding the toy. I helped by chasing him. Later, he put the toy up on the shelf with others that smelled the same. And that was the end of that, until he and Dad decided to build another one. This one is a rocket, Bailey, Ethan told me, showed me a toy shaped like a stick. But what use was a stick-like thing that smelled too bad to chew? I turned my nose away. We're going to land one on the moon one day, and then people will live here too. Do you want to be a space dog? I heard the word dog, and it sounded as if there was a question, so I wagged. Yes, I thought, I would be happy to clean the plates if that's what you're asking. Clean the Plates was a game where the boy put a sticky plate on the floor and I licked it until it was shiny. It was one of my jobs, but only when Mom wasn't watching. Mostly, though, my job was to stay near the boy. When it grew dark at night, he would carry me up to his room since the stairs were too steep for my short legs. There was a box there with a soft pillow, and he'd put me into it. I understood that I was supposed to stay there until Mom and Dad came in and said good night. Then the boy would call softly to me, and I'd scramble with his help up onto the bed. We'd curl up together. If I woke up in the middle of the night and got bored, I could always chew on the boy. During the day, Ethan and I often played in the backyard, where there was lots of room for the bad wrestling and chasing games, and then one day Ethan clipped a long rope onto my collar and introduced me to an entirely new place, the neighborhood. Ethan ran down the sidewalk with me right at his heels, and soon we were surrounded by a bunch of other girls and boys, some bigger than Ethan, some smaller, all of them with their hands out, eager to pet me. I was happy to oblige. I leaned into their hands and lapped at their fingers and listened to their giggles. This is my dog Bailey, Ethan said proudly. He scooped me up and I wiggled at the sound of my name. Look, Chelsea, he said, offering me to a girl his size. He's a golden retriever. My mother rescued him. He was dying in a car from heat exhaustion. When he gets old enough, I'm going to take him to my grandparents' farm. Chelsea cuddled me to her chest and gazed into my eyes. Her hair was long and even lighter than mine, and she smelled quite interesting, of sugar and milk and flowers and another dog. You are sweet. You are so sweet, Bailey. I love you, she sang to me. I liked Chelsea. Whenever we were out in the neighborhood and she saw me, she would drop to her knees and let me tug on her long blonde hair. I soon learned that the dog scent on her clothes came from Marshmallow, a long-haired brown and white dog older than I was. When Chelsea let Marshmallow out of her yard, we would wrestle for hours, and sometimes Ethan would join us, playing, playing, playing. Bailey! Ethan would laugh when I got hold of his shirt and tugged. Here, Bailey, he would call, and I'd come running to throw myself on top of him. Bailey, 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 he would whisper in my ear at night. I loved my name because of how the boy said it. Whenever he used it, I came to him. That was how I learned my first trick. Come. Ethan would call, Bailey, and as I trotted toward him, he'd add, come. Then he'd feed me a treat. Excellent. Pretty soon I learned that I was supposed to head for anybody who said come, even Mom or Dad. There were other tricks too. Sit, Bailey, sit, Ethan would say. He would climb on top of me, forcing my rear end down to the ground. Then he'd let me have a dog biscuit. That wasn't quite as much fun as come, but since the boy liked it, I put up with it. Dog door was another game Ethan liked to play. We'd go out in the garage, a large bare room that smelled of metal and dirty air and tasty garbage and a sharp scent that I had learned was called gasoline. In the garage, there was a door with a plastic flap in it that led out to the back door. Dog door. Ethan would call out and then he'd shove me through the flap and out onto the grass. When I stick my nose back through the flap, I'd get my biscuit. A day came when we played dog door a lot. That night, I realized that my legs had grown long enough for me to hop up on Ethan's bed all by myself. That was a good thing because the nights were starting to get cooler. I liked the fact that anytime I wanted, I could get up on that bed and curl up right next to my boy's warmth. The boy loved me. I loved him. From the second we woke up until the moment we fell asleep, we were together. And then everything changed. The morning after the day we played dog door so much, the boy was up early, not long after sunrise. Mom was running in and out of various rooms. Everybody seemed excited. I stayed back right at Ethan's heels, excited too. What were we going to be doing together? Take care of Bailey, Mom called at one point. Smokey the cat glanced down at me from where he was sitting on the counter. It was so unfair that he could get up there where all the good food smells were, and I couldn't. I gave my new chew toy a good shake just to show him that I didn't care. Bailey, the boy called out, and I heard a funny thumping noise. So I went to investigate. He was dragging my dog bed down the stairs. Why was he doing that? Did he need my help? He carried the bed out to the garage, and I followed him. Dog door, the boy said to me. I sniffed his pockets. I couldn't smell any biscuits. What would be the point of playing dog door without biscuits? I turned away and started to lift my leg on a bicycle instead. Bailey! There was impatience in the boy's voice, and I remembered how funny all the people in my family seemed to get about perfectly normal things like marking territory with a little urine. I lowered my leg and turned to look at him. You sleep here, okay, Bailey? Ethan said. You be a good dog. If you need to go to the bathroom, you go out the dog door, okay? Dog door, Bailey. I have to go to school now, okay? I love you, Bailey. Ethan gave me a hug and a good scratch under the collar. I licked his ear and his nose. When he headed back inside the house, of course, I followed him. But at the door that led into the kitchen, he stopped and shook his head. No, Bailey, you stay in the garage until I get home. Dog door, okay? Bailey, you be a good dog. And he shut the door in my face. My boy actually did that. He walked through the door and shut it so that I was on one side of it and he was on the other. And what were all those words he said to me? Stay, dog, door, good dog. How were those connected? Was there something he wanted me to do so that he could give me a biscuit? Which one was stay again? And where had my boy gone? Why would he go anywhere without me? None of this made any sense at all. I sniffed around the garage. The smells were interesting, different from the ones inside the house. But I wasn't in the mood to explore. I wanted my boy. I barked. The door to the house stayed shut tight. I scratched it. Still nothing. I heard some children yelling from the front of the house and ran to the big garage door, hoping it would lift up. Sometimes it did that. And then Dad or Mom drove a car in or out. But that didn't happen this time. The big door stayed firmly down. A loud truck of some kind swept up the voices of the children and carried them away. A few minutes later, I heard Mom's car drive off, and then the world, which had been so full of life and fun and noise, became quiet. Horribly quiet. I barked for a while. Surely someone would hear me and realize that I had been shut in the garage and come to get me out. Nobody did, though. My barking didn't make anything happen at all. I sniffed around the door to the house. I could smell Smokey on the other side of it, and I was sure he was happy that he was there and I was here. I scratched the door. I chewed on some old shoes I found in a corner. I ripped up my dog bed. I found a black plastic bag tied shut full of clothing. I got my teeth into it too, ripped it open and scattered the clothes around the garage. I peed in one corner and pooped in the other. I tipped over a big metal container that smelled wonderful, and inside it I found a few pieces of chicken and some spaghetti and half a waffle. I took care of all that. And I licked out a can of fish that smelled like Smokey's breath. I ate some paper. I knocked over my water dish and chewed on it. There was nothing to do. When were the people coming back? Where was my boy? Now that I'd found the boy and figured out that my job was to be near him, how could he go away and leave me? When I'd gotten myself out of the big yard and gone into the world looking for what I needed, I never imagined this. Would I be alone forever?